Yeah, hello and welcome back. This is now a second case for value-added tax. And yeah, first we should simply talk about what happens in the case. We have here a German lawyer, it's Ed Weiss. And Ed Weiss has his own law firm in Munich in Germany. And one of his clients lives in a town in Belgium, let's say it's Brussels, and now requires advice for two different legal matters. That's first, he needs to get advice concerning a contract between his business in Brussels, Belgium, and the German client from, let's say, Düsseldorf. And he needs also advice on the draft for his last will and testament. And now the two things that this case is still too simple. And so, in order to make our lives more complicated, they decide to meet undercover, unnoticed by the public, at a place which is strange enough to puzzle us. So they meet for 2 days in a hotel on Heligoland to discuss the two important matters. And they do this on the 1st of June of year one. And the lawyer later charges his client with 2,000 euro for the advice given on the contract and with 1,000 for the advice given on the testament. And the question is now plain and simple: the treatment of these events under German VAT law. That has to be found out by you and me now in the following moments. Well, the first thing we probably have to talk about is what happens here at all. And so let's first make a small sketch regarding that, because here we have first the lawyer giving advice on a business contract to the Belgian client. And our lawyer is from Munich, and the client is from Brussels, Belgium. This is the first thing which happens, and well, in between, this is for 2,000 euro. That is all the information we probably need. The second event which happens is our lawyer gives advice on the testament to the Belgian customer. And again, the lawyer is from Munich. It's 1,000, and the Belgian customer lives in Brussels. Two transactions which have to be checked one after another. That is the first important finding which we have. There are two different transactions in it, so we have to deal with both differently. Advice on the business contract. Well, let's first test taxability. Now you know there is either to test 1 number 1 or 1 number 5. 1 number 5 would be intra-community acquisition of a good. That's not the case here. Is no tangible good in question, so number 5 is wrong. We test number 1 as nearly always. A lawyer is an entrepreneur. Paragraph 2(1), sentences 1 and 3, because he acts independently, doesn't have a boss, doesn't have a boss. It's on a constant basis, so sustainable, and he aims at revenue. Furthermore, he acts within the scope of his enterprise activities. This is a clear yes, because legal advice and a lawyer, that's his core business. So 2(1) sentence 2 USTG says yes, that's naturally covered. Is it for consideration? Let's place it somewhere else a bit here, probably. And now the next two questions are the decisive ones. Is it a delivery of a good or a service? And the answer is it a service? Yes. Paragraph 3, number 9, USDG. There is no transfer of ownership in a good. Giving advice is no delivery. Then the last thing we need is the place of service. And here you know there are two basic rules, 3A1 and 3A2. And the basic rule applicable here is if the customer is a business customer, then 3A2, the place to which the taxability is attributed is the place where the customer has established his business. That is Brussels in Belgium. And well, Brussels is not in the German inland. As you can see everywhere, and if you can find out from your common sense, so not taxable in Germany, by the way, but in Belgium, because Belgium is an EU country, and so they have basically the same set of rules there, although numbered differently in a different language and with different tax rates. But in principle, we know for sure now this is not taxable in Germany. Now, transaction or event number 2. Advice on the testament. The first step is again taxability, and we have to test again number 1 USDG. We have again a lawyer is an entrepreneur. See above, that didn't change. Within the scope of the enterprise, yes, giving legal advice definitively is part of business activities of a lawyer. 2.1 sentence 2, it's even the core business for consideration. And the answer here is again definitively a yes. Demands money. Do we have a service? And the answer is yes. Paragraph 3, 9 USDG. It's giving advice. That is not a delivery of a good. So it comes again to the place of supply of the service, the place of the service. Well, yeah, basic rule is here. Dependent on whether the customer is a business customer or a private person. And here, when it comes to your testament, that's a private thing. So here, customer is private person because he may have an enterprise somewhere, but he acts within his quality as a private person. So paragraph 3.1 USDG applies, where the entrepreneur has established his business, so where the lawyer has his law firm, so Munich. That is inland. 1.2 sentence 1. You should note this illustrates very easily and convincingly that the geographical aspect of the matter doesn't play any role for VAT. The place where a transaction is attributed to is just the criterion which decides which state should feel competent to deal with the taxation problems. It does not say anything about where things really happen. So that they meet on Heligoland, which is for VAT, not the inland, does play no role here, because the rules do not ask for it. We may be even sure concerning that, because we need to check 3A3 deviations, which also have to be checked, and 4 to 8 also have to be checked if the case has something to do with the third territory, and it has Heligoland, but they do not change this outcome. The place remains Munich, it's still 3A1, so it's consequently taxable transaction in Germany under 1.1 number 1 of the USTG. And by the way, just to clarify this, naturally also here above 3A3 and 4 to 8 do not change this result. Believe me, if you checked it, which you would have to do in an exam or a practical case yourself, you would find out, yes, it's true. Now, transaction number 2, just to continue that, let's go on. The next step, which we have to check, is now, is there a tax exemption? You would have to check or test paragraph 4 USTG. There's a list of all the tax exemptions, and we do not find any tax exemptions for giving legal advice, so not exempted, so it's liable to tax, so tax has to be paid. So we need now the tax base, and the basic rule here is paragraph 10.1, sentence 1 and 2. All what the lawyer gets for his service, that is here 2,000, minus the VAT amount contained therein. This is 19/119th of that. And this is, if we find that out, €319.33, so that the net amount should be 1680.67 euro. This is the tax base, and only this, so we need to name this as the tax base. Tax rate and tax amount. Paragraph 12.1 says 19%, and the reason is because paragraph 12.2, that the reduced rate does not apply. So it's 19% on 1680.67, and now if we did not make a mistake before, this is 319.33, indeed it is, so everything seems to be fine. Now we go to the formalities, how the tax is paid, and now you remember that, at least in the English version, that how the tax is paid is a good sample for memorizing the individual steps, for sub-steps here. P is for taxpayer, is who? The lawyer, 13A1 number 1, because the taxpayer is the entrepreneur, usually, because paragraph 13B, the exception does not apply. A stands for arisal of the tax. So when does the tax become existent? That is at the end of the so-called preliminary tax declaration period. And this is in Germany usually the month. So at the end of June of year 01, see paragraph 13.1 number 1, letter A, USTG. Invoicing details. No peculiarities. just regular invoice confirming VAT contained in the price, naming the lawyer who issued it, and so on. Declaration duties, nothing special. Any peculiar assets, strange things which had gone wrong. And here's nothing to be seen. Input tax refund claims for the customer not. It's private. Uses it for private purposes, and for the lawyer, if input tax was combined or connected with this service, then it is deductible, for example, from the travel costs to Heligoland or so on, or the paper for the advice, some things like that. That would be under 15.1 number 1 USDG. And that's it already. That was the whole case, and so this case is already successfully finished. So thanks for watching and goodbye. Wait for the next case.